In order to introduce something of the character and scenic nature of the route, a footplate ride from Macclesfield Hywell Road to Uttoxeter in the 1950s, and a meeting with a former driver to hear some of his memories. On the Stanier Class 4 were 2 additional crew members, an unofficial driver, Mr. Noel Gosling, co-author of the North Staffordshire Railway by the consortium Manifold, and a cameraman, Mr. Arthur Lees, who recorded the trip as much as he was able without being spotted by the eagle eye of officialdom.
My name is John Hayward and I'm an ex-footplateman from Macclesfield 9C shed. It was one of the old North Stafford sheds and the bulk of the work was over the North Stafford Railway and mainly the Churnick Valley line. We had a lot of men after the nationalisation transfer from other depots, and we had one chap, Les Beard, who was learning the road for the passenger work, and we used to work the 6:05 in the morning train all down the Churnick via North Road, of course, and Les had taken over this particular week. I was firing for him, and we were hurtling down the 3-mile long stretch from Macclesfield to Ainsmoss, hopefully tried to stop at North Road, which everybody did normally except Les. On the Monday he ran a coach and a half through the station. The station master came out of the station building at North Road, which unfortunately is now long gone. He didn't say a word. On the Tuesday we ran in, we ran a coach and a half again right through, finished up under the bridge, and the station master started to take notes. On the Wednesday morning we ran in about 3/4 of a coach length, and Les Beard turned to me as he saw the station master coming down the platform. He said, "John, come and sit here, I've got something in my eye, I think it's a fly." And me, young and green, sat in the driver's seat, and I got the full wrath of the station master's tongue, he thinking I'd been the driver all week. But poor Les, he did learn to stop there eventually. Signalling there, that was a really hard job, because it was a block post, but there wasn't a signal box as such. There was a frame, a lever frame, halfway down the platform. The block instruments were in the booking office, and the 4 crossing gates weren't worked by the normal wheel and gearing. They were all had to be opened individually, so that when a train was offered from Bosley, the signalman, or porter signalman, Rushton, would answer on the block instrument, receiving a passenger train or whatever. He'd accept the train, he'd have to walk out of the booking office, up the platform, unlock the gates with a lever, walk down the platform, open the crossing gates individually, that's 4 times. He'd then walk back up the platform to the lever frame. He'd pull the outer home off signal, the inner home, the starting signal, the advanced starter, and then the distant. And then he had to wait by the booking office as the train went through, and as he sighted the tail lamp, he would then go back into the booking office, train entering section onto Leek, which was the next block post. After the train arrived at Leek, he would receive section clear. He'd have to go back into the booking office, acknowledge this, walk back up the platform, put all the signals back to danger, walk down the platform and close the 4 crossing gates. And sometimes he'd just done this when another train would be offered from Leek and he'd have to go through the whole rigmarole again.
From Rushton, the track still continued on a rising gradient, reaching the highest elevation of the Churnet Valley line before the next station, Rudyard Lake, renamed Cliff Park by the LMS in 1926, from where it was downhill, apart from a few level stretches, all the way to Uttoxeter. In 1936, the station was degraded to a halt, with trains being stopped by request, as in this sequence recorded in October 1960, during the latter years of operation, by Alan Williamson. Leaving Cliff Park, passengers were soon introduced to the beauty of Rudyard Lake, 1.5 miles long and constructed around the turn of the 19th century as a reservoir for feeding the Trent and Mersey Canal via its Leek and Colden branches. Numerous weekend retreats were built around the lake, some on the shoreline, having their coal supplied direct from the railway.
One of our goods guards at Macclesfield, Bill Fisher, he had bought a cabin on the bank of the lake. Now, when we were working the pinfall freight job that I mentioned, we used to be going up on a nice summer's night, and Bill, at weekends, would be there with his wife, a little black cabin, little curtains in the window, twin bunk beds, and a North Stafford Guards van stove in one corner of the hut. And as we used to go past, Bill would come out with his wife, probably about 8 o'clock on a summer evening, and he'd say, "When you come back, drop us some coal off," because Rudyard Lake, on a moonlit night, was a beautiful place. On a winter's night or a rainy night, it was as black as a bag. And one particular occasion, I'd sorted out a great big lump of Yorkshire hard. It was about 100 weight and a quarter, it must have been in weight. And we had the stannier tank, and we were approaching on the down line, approaching Bill's cabin, and he always left a little lamp in the window so we could identify it. And we came round the left-hand bend, right on the shore, tight on the shore of Rudyard Lake. We should have been ideally doing 25 miles an hour, but with it being pitch black, my driver, Harry Brammer, was doing perhaps 15 miles an hour too fast. I'd got this huge lump of coal jammed in the, well, not jammed, but braced in the doorway of the Stanier tank. Harry said, "There's a red light coming up from the curtains. This is Bill's cabin. Ready? Let's go." The idea was for drop like Barnes Wallace's bomb and bounce, but as we were going a little bit too fast, this huge lump of coal bounced on the first bank, cleared the water, should have stopped at Bill Fisher's cabin door, but didn't. It went right through the cabin door. It destroyed the stove, the table and chair, and the bunk beds, and Bill and his wife collapsed in a heap of splintered timber, and I believe she nearly had a heart attack. But that's just one amusing thing that happened to Bill, but at least he got the coal.
When Cliff Park appeared in the timetables, Rudyard was renamed Rudyard Lake. At the turn of the century, a number of improvements were made to the station. These included lengthening the platforms to accommodate the longest trains, bringing in the hordes of day trippers, their numbers warranting the collection of tickets in buckets. This is Rudyard Lake Station in 1956. Note the well-kept garden bordering the length of the platform, and the hanging baskets decorating the signal box, a typical country station. Between trains, the staff perhaps wondering whether they'd won one of the best-kept station awards. Little did they know that in a few years all would be swept away. Here, a Saturdays-only train, the 1:30 from Leek, arrives with not a passenger in sight.